It was 3 a.m. when Marcus, a weary single father, woke to the sound of his phone buzzing on the nightstand. Half asleep, he answered, only to hear a trembling woman whisper, "Please, don't hang up." The line was filled with muffled sobs, fear, and desperation. Marcus almost ended the call until he heard the woman say something that made his heart stop. "They're going to hurt me." By dawn, his simple act of kindness would lead him into a world of wealth, lies, and prejudice he never imagined entering. What began as a wrong number would soon reveal a hidden truth and a bond that would challenge everything both of them had been taught about race, trust, and humanity. Marcus Davis had lived a life of quiet struggle. Once a soldier, now a mechanic, he spent his days fixing engines and his nights helping his 8-year-old daughter, Zoe, with homework. His hands were calloused, his dreams smaller than they used to be, but his heart remained unbroken. He lived in a small neighborhood on the edge of Atlanta, where opportunity rarely knocked. His phone rarely rang either, so when it did at 3 a.m. that night, it felt almost ominous. The voice on the other end belonged to Clara Whitmore, the only daughter of one of the wealthiest families in Georgia. But Marcus didn't know that. All he knew was that the woman sounded terrified. When he stayed on the line, talking her through the fear until she calmed, she thanked him softly and hung up. Marcus assumed that was the end of it. But by morning, his life had already shifted course. Clara had traced the number, desperate to thank the stranger, who helped her through the panic attack that followed a violent home invasion attempt. When she showed up at the mechanic shop, dressed in designer clothes, her car escorted by security, every head turned. A white heiress in a poor black neighborhood was a sight people wouldn't forget. Marcus was cautious. He wasn't used to rich people showing up in his world. But when Clara looked at him, she didn't see grease or poverty. She saw calm, compassion, and the voice that had kept her alive that night. And so, she made him an offer that would change everything. Clara's family estate sat on a vast hill surrounded by iron, gates and manicured gardens, a world far from Marcus's modest apartment. When she invited him to visit, Marcus hesitated. But curiosity and gratitude pulled him there. Clara wanted to repay him by hiring him as a personal driver and handyman for her late father's estate. She lived alone, guarded but fragile. The trauma from the attempted break-in still haunted her nights. At first, Marcus treated it like any other job, professional, distant, safe. But the staff, mostly white and wealthy, treated him differently. The gardener ignored his greetings. The cook refused to eat near him. The security guards watched every move he made. Whispers followed him down marble hallways. Why him? She could have anyone, but she brings him? Clara noticed, of course. She confronted one of the staff, but their reply chilled her. "You're being kind to someone who doesn't belong here." It was the same tone Marcus had known all his life. The same tone that said, "You're welcome to serve, but never to stay." One afternoon, Clara invited him to join her for tea in the garden. The silence between them spoke volumes. Marcus could feel the stares from behind the curtains, but Clara didn't care. She asked about his life, his daughter, his time in the army. And for the first time, Marcus saw a side of her that wasn't gilded in wealth. Just a lonely woman trying to feel human again. When Clara discovered that Marcus's daughter, Zoe, had been struggling to pay for a better school, she quietly arranged for a scholarship through her foundation. Marcus didn't find out until much later. By then, rumors were spreading, ugly ones. Some accused Marcus of manipulating Clara. Others whispered that she'd lost her mind letting him near her. It all reached her brother, Charles Whitmore, who returned from New York furious. At a family dinner, he publicly humiliated Marcus, accusing him of overstepping his place. Marcus didn't argue. He just stood, eyes steady, and said softly, "My place is where I'm needed." Clara's eyes filled with tears. That night, she made a decision that would defy her family, her reputation, and her world. A storm raged over the estate when Clara called. Marcus again, this time not by accident, but by choice. Her brother had locked her out of her own accounts. Her staff had abandoned her, and the house was eerily silent. When Marcus arrived, soaked from rain, the mansion lights flickered. Clara stood on the grand staircase, trembling, not from fear but exhaustion. "You don't have to stay," she whispered. But he did. The storm outside mirrored the chaos inside. Charles burst in, enraged, accusing Marcus of exploiting his sister. The confrontation turned ugly fast. Charles shoved Marcus, shouting words that carried centuries of hate. But Clara stepped between them. For the first time, she spoke with the steel of her father. "You don't get to decide who helps me. You don't get to decide who's worthy." Charles froze. The silence that followed was heavier than thunder. When the police arrived, called by neighbors who heard the shouting, they didn't ask questions. They went straight for Marcus. Guns drawn, orders shouted. Clara screamed that he was innocent, but bias moved faster than truth. Marcus raised his hands, calm and unshaken. Then Clara did something no one expected. She stepped in front of him, shielding him with her own body. Her trembling voice cut through the storm. "If you take him, you'll have to take me too." The officers hesitated, radios crackling in confusion. And in that pause, truth finally had a chance to breathe. When the chaos settled, Clara made it official. Marcus wasn't just her employee anymore. He was her partner in rebuilding what her father's wealth had lost: humanity. Weeks passed, and the story spread quietly across town. Some mocked Clara, others admired her. But none could deny what they'd seen. A woman born into privilege, standing up for a man the world tried to keep beneath her. Marcus continued to work at the estate, now restored and peaceful. Zoe visited often, playing with Clara's dog in the garden. The laughter of a child filled the once empty halls with something money could never buy: life. Clara used her foundation to start a program for veterans and single parents, inspired by Marcus's story. She gave jobs to those who were forgotten, homes to those who were invisible, and Marcus, who had once answered a wrong number, found himself at the right place, at the right time, rewriting what it meant to be seen. Late one evening, Clara watched Zoe fall asleep on the couch, her small hand wrapped around Marcus's. For the first time in years, she felt safe. Outside, the world was still divided. But inside that house, two lives, once separated by race, wealth, and circumstance, had become a quiet symbol of what understanding can look like when fear steps aside. Sometimes, change doesn't begin with a protest or a speech. Sometimes it begins with a phone ringing at 3 a.m. and someone choosing to answer. In a world where we're taught to fear what's different, maybe real courage is answering the call, no matter who's on the other end.